The lack of daylight has usually guided when humans sleep. We are diurnal, meaning we sleep at night because we rely heavily on our vision to evaluate and navigate the environment, and because more dangers are present at nighttime. Clearly, our hunting, gathering ancestors were safer from predators when they were quiet and still during the dark hours of night. This is not so very different today, considering that most mischief and crime occur under the cloak of night. On the other hand, where human sleep has changed dramatically over time. In hunting-gathering times, if you were lucky, this was in a cave, but for many this was outdoors, and if they were lucky, on a pile of hay or between layers of animal skin. In more stationary societies, for most of history, sleep has been indoors, but not with the quiet, climate-controlled environment, special sleeping clothes, and comfortable mattresses that most humans enjoy today. For most of Western civilized history, and in many places today still, sleep occurred indoors, but in widely varying temperatures and shared spaces with a lot of noise. Not only do families typically sleep together, often in a room that was also used for cooking, cleaning, eating, and socializing, but strangers even slept with strangers at inns. As in common workhouses for the poor, which was a significant chunk of the population in Victorian England, they slept lined up shoulder to shoulder on benches and were charged by the hour for the sleep time. For much of human history in the Western Hemisphere, say 200 to 500 years ago, people slept in two phases called segmented sleep, as opposed to the consolidated sleep commonly practiced today. One of the earliest references to this practice is in the Odyssey, when Homer wrote about first sleep. The time period between first and second sleep, usually 1 to 3 hours, was very different than regular wake time, in that it was spent in bed and valued much higher than other wake time, being considered a particularly special time for reflection, prayer, reading, writing, and, interestingly, sex. This between timing would vary for individuals, so it is speculated that sex, perhaps, because there was more chance of privacy, in other words, more of a chance that others in the room would be asleep. There is some evidence that segmented sleep may be more our natural state, and consolidated sleep more a result of aspects of modern life, especially artificial lighting. In one study, for example, when participants were removed from artificial light, they reverted back to segmented first and second sleep periods. It was the Industrial Revolution that ultimately changed the view of sleep as a valued function to one of a waste of time. Capitalism has no use for sleep. Sleep is promoted as a weakness. Sleep deprivation, heroic and manly. The combined Protestant work ethic made this attitude particularly strong in America. Thomas Edison said, "Sleep is a criminal waste of time, and there really is no reason why men should go to bed at all." And you thought your parents gave you a hard time about sleeping in. Imagine being Edison's kid. He had 6 of them, by the way. Imagine being his kid on a Saturday morning. Of course, that was well before the last couple of centuries of research solidifying the need for and important functions of sleep. Of similar mind, Napoleon, when asked how much sleep is needed, replied 6 hours for a man, 7 for a woman, and 8 for a fool. We now know that sleep restriction results in cumulative deficits in cognitive performance for those of both genders and at any level of IQ, let alone physical, behavioral, and emotional deficits. Who knows? If Napoleon had increased his nightly total to the fool level, things might have turned out differently at Waterloo. So here we are today with unforeseen levels of sleep restriction, burnout, stimulant addiction, sleep aid abuses, etc., all linked to the idea of progress and success. We now have this weird reversal in the United States where the elite work very long sleep-deprived hours, while the poor typically can't even get 40 hours of work per week. In our next and final segment of this class, we will look at sleep in other species.